Let's go. Drop. I'm being Brookwood.
Together we float, night after night. Disclosure, non-stop. ColeyUFO, lead the way. Different views, here to stay.
James Gilliland Orbs, peaceful contact shine. East city skies where the UFOs align. Daryl W. Sims and plans cross the line. Alien hunter evidence, truth redefined. Stephen Mirror threads, weave it all tight. Phenomena connections burning bright. Set breed love, cryptids in sight. Small town monsters, legends ignite. David Spink's energy, bold and deep. Vibrations rising, awakening from sleep.
Pink Bella, aloha, healing love's leap. Aloha spirit spreading peace so sweet. Bigfoot, Michigan, Rob House, footprints clear. Sasquatch trails drawing ever near. Patrick Cross channels, messages near. Voices from beyond crystal clear. Dark Skinner films, gateway disclosure pure. Capturing truths that will endure. Wonder Bob retreats, consciousness sure. Expanding minds, opening every door. Truth drop.
Truth drop.
Disclosure, non-stop. ColeyUFO, lead the way. Different views, here to stay.
War with the true, glide through the stars. Skate, skate, hands in the air, drop them bombs. Circle the ring, feel that vibe. That's the next two, keep it alive. Let's go. That's the next two, keep it alive. Let's go. That's the next two, keep it alive. Let's go. That's the next two, keep it alive. Hey, let's go. Yeah.
Somebody's life, truth drop.
Truth drop.
Disclosure, non-stop. ColeyUFO, lead the way. Yes, you're not everywhere.
Hey ho, truth drop, let's go. Hands up high, feel the glow. Hey ho, truth drop, let's go. Hands up high, feel the glow. Hey ho, truth drop, let's go. Hands up high, feel the glow. Hey ho, truth drop, let's go. Hands up high, feel the glow.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of SNX Radio. I'm Coley, and tonight I have a very special, many of you will recognize, Rodney, Space Cowboy, is here with us tonight. Rodney's no stranger to the show. He was co-hosting for, quite a while. So it's really exciting to have Rodney back. But before we get into it, I just wanted to go through chat. I saw it pop in. That's awesome to see everybody here. Kitty Catty Whack. Sorry you're not feeling good, girl. I hope that you're feeling better. That sucks, being sick. Baldo, hey, nice to see you. Mad Paximus, as always, a pleasure. And let me see, Kurt W75 in the house. Oh, our girl Spiritual Ascension is here. And we got Chad. Oh, I think it's probably Chad from the back, or our guest Chad, but I'm not sure. If not, I apologize. And let me see. I know I saw some other people in here. It's always awesome. Hopefully you guys are staying warm out there. And I have, it's so cold. So cold. I have Pirate 183, and let's see, we got Robert Bird. Nice to see you. Welcome in. And, do you know him, Rodney?
A lot of familiar names in there. It's great to see y'all support tonight, guys. You guys are going to love this. It's a real local case to you.
Oh, yeah. You guys are, definitely going to love this one. Maya Starfire. Hey, girls. So nice to see you. Maya's going to be on Mystical Mondays here. Anything Beastie. Hey. Definitely check out Monday. It's going to be Mystical Monday. And we also have, we'll be starting and kicking it off with Kurt W75. We're going to be Squatching Fridays. So Robert Bird, I think I got you before, but hey, Bigfoot Dwarf, nice to see you. And welcome back here. Oh, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. If you guys don't know who Bigfoot Michigan Rob is, get over to BMR's channel and subscribe. You're going to love his content. Hey, Cassie. We got Rodney's wife, Cassie, in chat. She's wonderful. They have a wonderful family. And I got you, Mad Maximus, I believe. Let me see here. Oh, Shelly. I knew I saw Shelly. Shelly Montgomery. Hello. Hello.
Getting the
And
full house on all the apps tonight.
oh yeah, Poncho's in the house. Hey, Poncho. Ooh, it's definitely picked up. It's probably chat's probably a little different, huh, Rodney?
Yeah.
PNW Rush is here. It's so nice to see you. I try to get everybody. I don't like to leave anybody out. And if I missed you, like, please, like, yell at me because.
Well, get used to it now, guys, then enjoy it. Because if she ever gets too big, she can't get them all.
Maya's coming on to represent chat on Mystical Mondays, just so we can get everybody's questions answered because it's gotten so busy. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn this over to Rodney to do the introduction because I'm going to continue. It's nice to have somebody else. So I'm going to continue dropping this and see if to get those links live once they're up. So, so we get a good sized group here. And so, Rodney, without further ado, tell them who you are if they forgot.
Yeah, well, I'm Rodney, Space Cowboy, I'm known as Big Chief Thunderlung. Some of you might know me. Raised here in Central New York my whole life. Had plenty of UFO experiences that started as a child, like many of you, which caused us to be put on a path to figure out what's going on. And I've actually been running a support group now, and we got a lot of people growing and helping each other out in there and supporting each other. That's me, but this isn't about me. And thank you for that introduction back again. We got Chad Granoski here tonight, and you guys might know the Phoenix Lights case that had hundreds of witnesses with hours of footage. Chad Granoski here in Central New York, 2 months after the Phoenix Lights, him and his father recorded the very similar lights, which I hold a connection to because it reminds me of what me and my dad experienced in our first case. And he's got some really good footage you guys are gonna like. And some other experiences you might want to share. I can't wait to have this conversation. We talked last night for an hour and a half, and it was great talking to somebody local.
That's awesome. Should we go ahead and bring him on?
Yeah, I'll get him up there.
I can grab him for you. There he is. Hey, Chad.
Hey guys, how you doing?
I don't know why I feel like I'm going to scare somebody when I do that, but I get it. I don't know. But yes, welcome to SNX. Rodney, I just handed it over Rodney for a bit. I'm just going to keep dry. I just have a couple more things to do behind the scenes, but I'm here with you listening. So.
Yeah, that's all right. Yeah, Chad. You want to talk a little bit about? You want to start with how it's the similarities, or wherever you want to begin?
Yeah. So, let me try to think. So back in May of 1997, the Phoenix Lights were seen back in March of 97. We happened to pretty much record almost an identical set of lights. But the cool part about it was we got over 3 hours of footage spread across 2 nights. So we got, the NASA scientists and stuff that looked at it and the other researchers, they were definitely excited about the length of the video.
Single capture for one person. That's a lot of footage just to get in one continuous capture.
Yeah, we went through a couple of VHS tapes. It was big old giant camcorders that you used back in the day. But yeah, we were definitely able to capture a lot. I can kind of walk you through how it all went down that night if you want.
Yeah. That'd be excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had just gotten off the phone with a friend of mine, and I was walking through the house, and I looked out over the lake. We lived on Oneida Lake. It's right in try to think. It's close to Canastota where I lived. It's near Lewis Point, and we kind of looked north towards Camden, Watertown area. And right on the lake there, we had airplanes fly over a lot. So as I'm walking down the back of the house, I look out, we had giant windows, like full-size body length windows that overlooked the lake. And I saw 3 lights in the sky, and, they were much brighter than any lights I had ever really seen, but I just figured it was an airplane coming in low. And got out into the kitchen, started making some dinner, one of those good Hungry Man TV dinners. And I looked out over the lake, and the lights were still there. They hadn't moved, which, I thought was weird. At that point, I walked out into the kitchen, or out of the kitchen in the living room, and I started looking out the back door, and, the lights were still in the exact same spot. So as I'm watching them, the middle light, it was 3 across in a straight line. The middle light dropped down maybe in view a couple inches, but, in the air, it was, probably a couple 100 feet, but it looked like a triangle. So at that point I got my dad, I was like, Dad, these don't look like airplanes. What the heck is this? And, from that point on, everything just kind of went to hell kind of with the rest of the night. So that's kind of how it all started.
Were you guys aware that it's happened 2 months after Phoenix Lights? Were you aware that the Phoenix Lights happened?
I thought I had maybe heard about it, but I really didn't know much about it. The internet was still kind of new then, so we didn't have the access to the Phoenix Lights story. So I don't really think I was 100% aware of it. The more, and then as we were watching them, one by one they disappeared, and my dad was like, "That was weird." It almost looked like the airplane kind of crashed if it was an airplane. And then a few minutes later, a couple lights came back again in a diagonal form across the sky, and a light farther above it started to come down towards it and got in line. So next thing you know, there were 4 lights in the sky. And my dad was like, "Yeah, those definitely on airplanes." He spent a lot of time on an aircraft carrier, so he dealt with a lot of airplanes. He's seen a lot of airplanes, and we knew when airplanes flew over what they look like. And these were, gigantic lights compared to what you see on a tiny little passenger plane.
Yeah, and your father and you were 16 when it happened. So your father, did he reach out to somebody and that's how you guys first got recognized discreetly?
He had talked to MUFON about it, the whole case. So once we got MUFON involved, that's when it kind of, blew up. They wanted to come and they wanted to check out the whole tape, interview us one by one. I was back in college when they did the interview. Which they liked because, I wasn't under the influence of my parents. They kind of got like a total different story. As the different patterns I was able to tell them about matched up with what my parents saw. At one point they formed a square in the sky. They formed a diagonal. Towards the end of the night, around midnight, when I was sitting there, they had kind of stopped for about an hour, and one of our neighbors, he was out there talking with us. He said he had seen him the night before, which, we weren't aware of. We weren't outside at the time. And as I'm eating my dinner at midnight, which was now ice cold, the whole back of me lit up. I was facing the house, not facing the lake. I was reading something, and the whole back of me lit up, and I turned around and there were 12 lights in the sky at that point. And the lake actually looked like it was on fire. I mean, the reflection off the water, if you look in the video, it doesn't really do it justice. The whole everything looked like it was on fire. Like at that point, we figured at that point, I thought I was getting invaded. I had never seen anything like that. My dad had never seen anything like that. You can actually see in the video, one of the neighbors gets in a boat and they start going towards them. They thought that, it was out towards, the middle of the lake. But once they got out there, they realized it was farther north, possibly like towards Williamstown, Camden area.
And there was another person that did get some footage. They're from Ogdensburg. Have you ever reached out to them at all by any chance?
Yeah, so we called 911 during the middle of it, and 911 said that they had received over 100 calls. Wow. She had asked if we wanted to send out a police officer, and at that point I was like, what is a police officer going to do? So she said people in Morrisville, which was about 20 minutes south of us, up on a hill, were witnessing it. She said people all over the county were talking about it too, calling them. So once we got in contact with MUFON, they told us that a gentleman in Cicero, which was probably maybe 20 miles down the lake, he had filmed about a 5-minute segment of it. And then a lady in Ogdensburg, New York, it's about 3 hours away, she had actually witnessed the same thing. She was actually filming. So we were looking south to north. She was actually looking north to south. So when you play the video, it's just backwards and flipped. But they were bright enough to be seen 3 hours away. So when you talk about flares and airplanes, I don't know any flares or airplanes that are bright enough to be seen, 3 hours away.
Would you want to see? Would you want to share the clip now before we talk into some of the stuff that happened after we were talking to the news channel and MUFON and everything?
Yeah, I can share. I can share the news clip real quick, and then just some of the footage here and there if people want to see it.
Is Coley frozen right now? I'll see if I can.
No, I.
Your screen is. You're there though.
Yeah, that's because as soon as I switch, I don't know why StreamYard's doing that now, but I'm popping back over here, and so I should be unfroze. Hopefully, it didn't look too bad. Yeah. So if you want to go ahead and share that, I can go ahead and pop that up there for you. There we go. Oop, where'd it go? Somehow it got kicked off. I don't know.
Yeah. Give me 1 second.
Sure, not a problem. Hello, everybody. Oh, Mojo. Mojo's here too. Not Moho. It's not Moho like Moho chicken. It's Mojo. I found out. Just kidding, Mojo. You know.
He's very creative, content creator too.
Yeah, I went on to his show. It was great. It was great. Yeah, I definitely. I love the video. I said, when I saw his intro, I said, I think yours is more deranged than mine. So that says a lot. I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's Mojo the Mad. You got that clip ready, Deshaun?
Oh, here we go. I got him. Just popped up.
So
I'm getting.
I can hit play on that if you're ready.
Yeah, I'm just getting it on here for you. I have a mouse that's like fighting me. Hold on a second here. I don't know why. Here we go.
This is the newscast.
So do you want me to put it full screen? Would that help? Is there sound?
Yeah, I can turn the sound up for you.
Oh, okay. I just wasn't sure because I didn't hear anything.
Yeah, the audio's not coming through for us on our end.
Yeah, it's not showing. Sometimes if are you sharing a screen? Oh no, it's not showing that. You might have to give it permission for audio since you're coming in on a different thing, because I'm not even showing that you have a mic there, so which indicates that there is no audio.
Yeah, so it's just above that skyline is where the image was.
I can kind of walk through the audio on it. I mean, that's just
okay. Yeah,
just
sure.
interviewing
Thank
my dad. He's talking about what he saw. That's the 12 lights in the sky right there. The shoreline are the lights on the bottom.
Sorry, here. I don't know what's going on. Okay. No.
This is the MUFON investigator.
Yeah, and it was on VHS. So anybody that says it was AI or anything like that, I mean,
I love the people that are like, "Oh, that was CGI and stuff." So,
are you guys seeing the video still?
No, it's just
yeah. Hold on a second. I don't know what the heck just happened, but this is the weather. I don't know if this is the weather or if this is. Let me see here. It should show everything. There we go. It's a weird layout, but maybe this way. Okay. Sorry about that. I'm not even going near it. Let's see.
Yeah, so like the Phoenix lights, it just starts out with a couple lights, and over a few minutes, it unfolds.
I'm gonna skip. This was some big UFO panel they did. I'm gonna skip them and just kind of show you some of the footage. So this here is actual footage of. You can see the reflection in the lake. This was the 12 lights in the sky. We've got, where we go. So this was the pattern here that was kind of like the Phoenix lights. Let me get to that. This is, you can kind of see how they, So you'll see the four lights right there, and if you watch, you'll see them show up one by one, and then you'll see one way off in the distance, kind of like when the Phoenix lights, they zoomed in on them or zoomed out. You can see the lights, and then the one towards the tip, the triangle.
So you were telling me you think that, like the Phoenix lights in this object, possibly it was turning is why it was going out one at a time.
Yeah, it definitely could be. I mean, that was one of the possibilities they talked about. You know, maybe it was a larger object turning, or it was slowly lighting up. You know, they really didn't have an explanation for it.
See how we're looking at it now. This part here is a lot like the Phoenix lights, but in the beginning, they're a little bit more random, kind of, aren't they?
Yeah, really... they formed also. I mean, like I said, there was a triangle, there was a square. They moved around a little bit, formed different shapes. But if you count how long the Phoenix lights last and these last as they go out, it's almost identical.
Wow.
And this was at 3:30 in the morning. So,
and like the Phoenix lights, they tried the local military at Fort Drum tried to tell you that they were flares also, right?
So the MUFON investigator went up to Watertown, or to the local air base. What is it?
Griffiths in Rome.
Fort Drum.
Fort Drum in Watertown, yep.
Yeah, and Fort Drum said that they were testing flares. So when the MUFON investigator asked them what time, they said from 8 o'clock to 10:30 that night, and they got it in writing from the base. And once they got it in writing, they turned around and told them, well, you know, it's funny, we do have 2 nights of the video, and we have from 9 o'clock all the way till 3 in the morning the one night. At that point, the gentleman they were talking to notioned to the military police that were in the room, and they were escorted the MUFON investigators off the base and told them, you know, it was flares, and basically to leave it at that.
I'm sure they did.
And it's a lot more than just seeing these lights too. Now, after he's seen these lights, we've heard about Men in Black, but Chad experienced a different. It's not different. It's very similar to. It's you got to tell him about that too, Chad, if you can. The footprints.
Yeah. So hold on. Let me get this. I was clicking something. So we saw the lights. We reported them. You know, MUFON came out. Well, MUFON came out. They did the interview. The news came out, did the interview. A few days after the news came out, the gentleman from the news told us, you know, we should make multiple copies. You never know what might happen. So we made a ton of copies. My dad mailed a couple to my aunt. He even went as far as to bury one in the yard in a plastic bag. So we had a bunch of different copies of it. My mom calls my dad hysterical. She's talking about a helicopter that was flying up and down the shoreline. And every time it would fly over the house, it would set off the electronics in the house. It would, you know, microwaves would go nuts, fire alarms would go nuts. You know, we actually had a couple VHS tapes that got ruined almost right after. But it wasn't just our house, you know, they were going down. We had neighbors outside yelling, and it was a completely black helicopter. There were no markings on it. You couldn't see in the cockpit. It was just a blacked out helicopter with a giant disc on the bottom. And it was flying, my mom had estimated about 200 feet over the house when this happened. When the MUFON turned around and asked the military base, you know, they gave us we don't have black helicopters. You know, anything we have has designations on it. So they kind of, you know, they threw it to the wayside, the military. After that, I was sleeping, and it was probably around 3 in the morning. I woke up, and I had heard some kind of like sing-songy weird voice. It was like a blah, 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 blah. It was just this weird talking. You know, I couldn't understand what was going on. You know, at this point I was sleeping with a baseball bat underneath my pillow too, because I had no clue what was going on. And I turned, and I didn't feel scared. You know, that was the weird part. And as I turned, there was a gentleman, you know, I estimated he was probably about 6'6", 6'5". He had a top hat on. He had a black and white striped vertically shirt, looked like black pants, and his face, which was the weird part, you know, if you block somebody's face out, like pixelate it, that's what it kind of looked like. And as I looked, he was like, you know what I want? And he kept saying, you know what I want? And I'm like, what do you want? And he said, I want the tape. And, you know, I didn't feel scared. I didn't feel like nervous. It wasn't like, you know, it was like almost like in a trance, like a dreamlike kind of like situation. You know, I didn't know if I was dreaming or not. So then as I'm laying there and I'm looking at him, all of a sudden I could hear my dog down the hall, you know, the collar stir, and he turned quick, like agitated, and took off through the house. So at that point, I jumped up out of bed and was like, whoa, you know, what just happened? I kind of snapped out of it. So I went down the hallway to our mudroom, and I'm looking outside, and we lived on it was a dead end road. You know, there shouldn't have been anybody down there, especially in May. You know, there wasn't a lot of people in their camps. We were really one of the only houses there. So my mom came down the hall because she heard the ruckus, and she's like, what was that? And I said, I don't know. I thought there was somebody in my room. And she's like, you know, go to bed. And as we're standing there, we saw the tail lights turn on and a car went up the road, which I thought was weird. You know, nobody besides the paper man comes down the road at that point. That he would have had his lights on. And then the next morning, you know, my mom, she vacuumed a lot. We had that big plush carpet. She was an avid vacuumer back in the day. And she must have just vacuumed because you could see the footprints the next day. They were estimated around 13 to 14 inches going down the hall to my bedroom and then back down towards the mudroom in the house. So, you know, at that point, you know, I'd kind of tried to figure out, you know, what the hell actually happened, you know, with that.
Yeah, they can just come and go as they please in the middle of the night. They weren't expecting you to catch them, I don't think, were they?
I don't know if it was that so much, or maybe the dog stirring, but something, whatever it was, kind of tipped them off. And then, you know, after that, the rest of the summer, I got kind of ill. I ended up with, I got really jaundice. I got sick. They couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. So they were going to admit me on Friday into the hospital. So I was in the shower that morning, taking a shower, and I get out. And, you know, when you look in your mirror, like if you write on your mirror how clear it is, well, in half the mirror was a giant, like this sounds so weird, but half the mirror was the giant face of a gray. It was all clear except for the eye, and it was the almond shaped head. So I dried off quick, ran out of the bathroom, and all the windows in my room were wide open and the shutters were banging back and forth. And we had no wind that day. So I collapsed in the hallway, and my mom came out, and she's like, what the hell's going on? And I really didn't tell her. You know, she got me up and we were driving, and when we got in the car, I kind of told her what happened. And she's like, oh, you know, whatever. And, you know, I think she kind of, you know, blew it off a little bit. And when we got to the hospital, they did my blood work, and all my blood work was normal. You know, they said my jaundice was gone. They couldn't find anything wrong with me. So they let me, they sent me home. They're like, you know, you're fine. They called it Gilbert's syndrome, which is where you have like a chromosome, something wrong with your liver, is basically what they dubbed it as. So.
And your dad had a strange symptom that I've never heard of before also.
Yeah. So a couple times my mom would yell. So the first time my mom yelled, this was a few months after he was sitting on the computer doing some work. My mom was sitting with him, and there was a loud humming noise coming out of his ears. Like it was a like that. And it was, you know, he had his mouth open, he was talking, and you could hear it coming out of his ears, this humming noise. And he was like, you know, I'm not doing anything. I'm not, you know, touching anything. He put his hands around, you know, he's like, I don't know where it's coming from. And that happened on a couple occasions. He actually had a bloody nose, and something had come out of his nose in the shower. He wasn't able to retrieve it. And then a few weeks later, I was actually driving, and I've never really had a history of bloody noses. You know, I've been hit in the face here and there, you know, never had. and I was driving and got a violent bloody nose. And I remember I looked down and there was something round in the blood, and I got out of the car to the point where a local Solvay police officer pulled over because he saw the blood, thought I was in an accident, and he assisted me with getting the blood to stop. But I wish I had kept, the item, whatever it was, whether it was a BB, it looked like a BB almost had come out of my nose.
Right, but in the moment you didn't think about it. Was
No,
that?
I didn't put two and two together.
Were you in college at that time?
Yeah, I was actually home for the summer, still working for my dad.
Yeah, it's like, we don't realize what's happening in the moment. Like the cattle mutilation I stumbled across. I didn't know what I was looking at 17 years old until I learned about Linda Moulton Howe and her research.
I'm not sure if you knew too that jaundice, like I had it when I was a kid because I did not have compatible blood type with my mother, but it also can be to a high dose of radiation.
Oh, that's interesting.
Too. Yeah, so I thought that was really interesting with everything that you were saying.
Well, one of the weird things is kind of like the color of your microphone right now, that blue. Ever since I was younger, I would wake up in the middle of the night and I would see like this weird blue glow coming from my bedroom door, and it would be somebody standing there and they'd be like, "Oh, get ready, we're waiting for you." And to me, it was a dream. I would have it all the time, over and over and over. And I would, at that point, I didn't remember anything. So it wasn't until I was older, and my roommate, he had my first house I was in, he moved in, and we were sharing the place, and he found me one night standing in the middle of the living room, fully clothed. And he was like, "It was like you were sleepwalking. You were in this weird trance." And I was like, "No, I felt like, I had seen somebody in the doorway, and I thought maybe there was people downstairs or whatever." And he's like, "No, I was dead asleep. I heard you get up." And then he's like, "I didn't hear you for a while." And then he got up to get a drink, and he saw me just standing in the middle of the living room. So, that's been a weird occurrence pretty much my whole life.
Yeah. I'd say it.
So you've come in contact with a being.
Yeah, I would love to get hypnotized and actually see if something has happened. I feel like that's the only way I'm going to know.
That makes sense, though. That makes sense because do you have Irish descent in you or Native American descent?
A little bit of Native American, but not a whole lot.
It's always
mostly
experiencers.
Polish.
And did you grow up being able to like communicate with spirits in a way like that? Some people see them, some people hear them, some people just kind of pierce that veil.
I got into paranormal investigating later on, but no, I didn't have any I didn't feel like I was sensitive in any ways to anything.
But you were drawn to it for whatever reason. I bet you, because usually when you come in contact, everybody that I have talked to has some ability on that side, that mediumship. Usually, I don't think anybody's not had either Native American or Irish blood in them. I like to figure out because there's so many commonalities between experiencers. So I was just kind of trying to figure out that piece. But there was also, real quick before you get back into it, there was a question that we had from Shelly, if I can get here. She was asking about the craft, and for whatever reason, I don't know with this weather, it's been so crazy. Why don't you can go ahead and, here we go. And then the question was, did any drop down, shoot down over to one side, then the other, then one opposite? I think she's asking about the craft when you were showing the video.
So there are some points, the video is on YouTube. I can post a link to it, the whole 3 hours. You can go in and see some of the weird patterns. There's one where there's three in a line, one comes down and joins them. Never any real fast moments where they shot out from anything. There is one point where I talked about it looked like they were smoking. But I wish it had got it on camera that, and pretty much a few seconds later when I was off camera, it was because when I was looking through the binoculars at something as bright as it was just kind of making burn in the binocular. So at the point I had thought maybe originally it was but smoke, but no, it was just the burn in from the brightness of the objects. They were like an orange. It looked kind of like an orange, like a little orange fireball in the sky, each one of them.
It could have been piercing the cloud cover maybe a little bit, huh?
Yeah, we had some really bad storms come through that weekend. And that's kind of why, we didn't see anything the night before, because, usually we were outside all the time, at least somebody sitting outside, and, nobody had gone outside because of the storms. And then the last night we actually lived in the house, we were sitting outside talking. And as we were looking up at the sky, we saw a giant, if you look at an airplane in the sky, you figure it's probably the size of like a pencil eraser. If I could make that general like size comparison, what we saw was about the size of a 50-cent piece moving across the sky. And it was a pitch black triangle shape. And it moved east or west to east across the sky. No lights on it, but as it moved, you could see it blacking out the stars. So that was literally the last night when we were in the house that object flew over the top of the house. To the lady that was talking about the maneuvers, we go up to an area where we believe this has happened. We've been going up there for 14 years now. It's called Happy Valley, New York. And we've witnessed pretty much the exact same thing. I actually brought my son up there this past summer. He's always wanted to go. We brought him up, and we had one of probably the second best experience I've ever witnessed. My friend was with me. My friend Aaron, him and I and my son witnessed pretty much the same thing. We saw lights, they would pulse. They were shooting across the sky like a north to south, looked like they were actually launching. And then they were moving west to east, super fast, like moving, but they would go, if you were to hold a ruler up in the sky, they would go about 12 inches across the sky, and then they would just disappear, nothing. And that's why it looked like something was launching. And at the end of that, there was an actual round pulse. It didn't make any noise, but it looked like almost like a gate, like something that just poof, almost like the logo on my thing, my team logo here. It was a weird, like pulse-like object in the sky. When I contacted MUFON, the gentleman told me I witnessed Starlink after researching this for a couple of days. He calls me up. If it wasn't Halloween night and I was taking my kids trick or treating, I probably would have given the guy a piece of my mind. But he came back and said that it was a man-made object that we witnessed, and it was Starlink. And I told him I'm not an idiot. I've seen Starlink 100 times in the sky. Starlink doesn't do what this did. And after that, I've kind of come up with the conclusion MUFON is, I don't trust MUFON. I think
no, no, do not trust MUFON. MUFON's a backdoor to the DOD. They are the AARO now, and everything that you report goes right to your government. Just so you know, I've had it out with MUFON investigators. Tom Whitmore, who is on the whole MUFON board himself, will verify this too. Sean Kirkpatrick, he's another bad egg, as Daryl Sims would say. But yeah, you can't trust them. They put me on the map too. And that's when all the weirdness starts. So I'm with you.
Yeah, there was, we've been up there pretty much every time we've gone up there. This place is a hot spot for, we've had paranormal encounters. We've had Sasquatch encounters. We've had the UFO encounters now. We've had giant 2-foot rocks thrown at us from 300 yards away across the water, landing 20, 30 yards from us. And I think that's all kind of pulled into one giant, I think it's all tied together somehow. And that's why we continue to go up there. But, I do have some of that I can share too at some point if, some of those videos.
We'd love to see them.
Yeah, Happy Valley's got some history. There was like a town there or something, and they all had to leave or they died or something, didn't it?
Yeah, apparently they thought that there's just a couple things. A lot of people think there's a witch that cursed the land, killed everybody. There's a thing where people say they just vanished. There's another thing. People said it was a depression and everybody just got up and left overnight. But there's a lot of paranormal experiences. There's a witch up there. We've actually done a paranormal investigation and contacted. We've made contact a couple times with what we believe is an actual. She's dubbed herself a witch. So you know, historically there's been claims that a witch has lived up there. So, and when there's people that I brought up there that haven't known about the witch that makes herself known, and they're like, that's a witch. And, you know, it's interesting when you don't tell people the history of the place, and, you know, it comes out. So
wait to tell them the good stuff when you get them up there at night.
Yeah, I've actually brought a couple TV shows up there, and they filmed, and the one gentleman said it was probably the best place he's ever investigated in his life. He's like, you know, we got UFOs, we got Sasquatch. That night we had ghosts. He's like, we had the trifecta. He's like, I've never been anywhere that's experienced this. And, you know, back to TV shows, you know, Ben Hansen, I don't know if, you know, Ben Hansen and Melissa, I'm going to butcher her last name, but Title, they had put my video on alien encounters, declassified back in 21. They came in, and, you know, I talked to Ben extensively, his producer, and he came in on a, you know, he wasn't physically there, he couldn't be there, but they rented a place on the lake, and we actually did a whole recreation of the event. They hung him from a tablet, him and his producer, and they asked me questions, you know, remotely, and then they did kind of a reenactment of the event. It was that was a pretty interesting account, being able to work with them and have them really interested in the experience. And, you know, he couldn't believe it hadn't received any more publicity than it did.
Yeah, it should be attached to the Phoenix Lights case whenever they bring that up, honestly.
Yeah, the two big researchers from the Phoenix Lights case did actually view it, and they said it was pretty incredible. They had Richard Hoagland, who worked for NASA at the time. He reviewed it. He was amazed by it. A few months after we submitted it to NASA, Fox's Greatest UFOs Ever picked up the video, but they were unable to get it into the TV show in time because of the way production went.
Production or interference went.
Yeah.
I'm always so suspicious
when
it comes to stuff like that. I really am.
There's always somebody trying to hinder it from getting out there.
Oh, isn't there always? I've had the craziest stuff happen to you with the helicopters, with a dead cat at my door, with my location being snapped. They used to go through get in my Bluetooth. Your bank accounts will never not go unhacked, I think. It is just like one thing after another. When there's something that I think they try, you know, a level of it, trying to scare you however they can, just or annoy you so badly that like keep that interference continuously, where you're like, all right, I've had enough. Like, you know, I'm giving it up for a second. Mm-hmm. But that's the way I've encountered it anyway.
Well, pretty much every time I go on record and talk about this, you know, my friend Aaron Sagers, he does Talking Strange and Paranormal Caught on Camera. You know, he's talked to me about this a couple times. And every time I've gone on anything, you know, I was on Jim Harold's Campfire Stories, a couple different shows. Every time I talk about it, it always seems something weird happens, like the next day or that night. When after the Ben Hansen thing, he had actually taken all my VHS tapes and had it digitized for me so I could have it in a digital format. He gave me the hard drive, and I actually hid it in a sock and buried it in the back of my sock drawer so I wouldn't lose it. The day after it aired, I got up and I went to put socks on, and I opened the drawer, and it was sitting in the front of the drawer. Nobody in the house knew that I had put it there. You know, my wife didn't know, my kids didn't know. Nobody would go in that drawer. And you know, I contacted Ben right away, and he's like, oh, do you have cameras in your house? And fortunately I didn't have cameras. But he said it might've been like, hey, we still know you're here, or a warning, or, you know, we can still get to you. You know, it was just a weird occurrence. You know, nobody knew it was there except me. And, you know, it was buried deep, and to have it just sitting right out in the open in front of my face, it kind of spooked me a little bit.
Yeah. Definitely. I don't blame you there at all. And I know we were talking kind of before this in chat with you, me, and Rodney, and you're like, yeah, things just kind of started to get normal. And I was like, man, are you sure? You know, because there's not been, I don't think, a normal day that goes by since all of this, or I'm like you, every time I go and I go near something that I shouldn't, they let me know. I mean, that's the way it works out. And hopefully I'm not feeding into that, because I even hate to say it out loud. And I also really quickly wanted to thank Bigfoot Michigan Rob and Benno for the super chats, and we appreciate it as always. Thank you very much. And then anyone, let's see. I think this is a question too. Anyone care to see a UFO? Oh, Jersey Beach. They're about over Jersey Beach. Are you guys near Jersey Beach? No, I always, people from New York get offended if I ask too much, but like, we're not Jersey, or, you know, so I try not to even like go near that. I shouldn't even ask. But yeah, so how much of your family has seen, like, it was you and your dad? Did like neighbors or anybody else around you that like remember the whole scenario? Because there was hundreds, wasn't there, that were witness to it? Yeah,
the newspaper, once they ran it, you know, people were coming out. So the next day after it occurred, when we went into work, my dad owned his own business. The secretary, her and her husband were driving through North Syracuse that night, and they saw 3 orbs flying just above the power lines going parallel with the road. And as they went up the road, another one joined them. And when that happened, they had the transformer that was there blew. It sparked, exploded, power went out, and then the 3 objects took off. She had come forward with that information the next day. You know, all the neighbors that we knew, they were all outside talking about it for a couple of days. You know, nobody really knew what it was. They were all pretty excited that we got it on videotape. The ones that live there, you know, I wish most of the people were up there for the summer. We would have had a lot more people. You know, there was only maybe 3 or 4 houses at the time with people there, where there usually would have been maybe 15 or 20. I posted it up on Facebook and stuff, and through people I know. And I've had a lot of people come forward and, oh yeah, I remember seeing that. Oh wow, you know, besides the people saying it was CGI and, you know, Chinese lanterns and
gosh, I know.
I wish I
know.
Chinese lanterns.
Yeah, right. And you know, even MUFON, people have to understand, like MUFON, and even with them, because there was a couple of things that I said, they came back later and they're like, oh well, the timing, they couldn't have been lanterns because they were too long. But I was like, who's running the show? Okay, so Iowa MUFON, Dave Creeder, I've told you this to your face, so I don't feel like I'm talking behind your back. And I've complained about MUFON several times, so this should be no shock if you're listening. But he's colorblind, A. B, the guy that's analyzing the videos and their volunteer has no type of computer background whatsoever. I said, this almost seems like this is by design. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so weird to me. And neither one of them have ever experienced a UFO.
Interesting.
How do you get it? Yeah, you don't get it until you have experienced it, or you've been close enough to somebody who has experienced it. Like, you're still not going to fully understand what it's like to stand face to face with one of those crafts, or, you know, come face to face with some of these beings. It's not going to happen.
I tried to get it. I applied actually for MUFON kind of after it happened.
They need good people.
Because I wanted to do people right, not kind of. So our MUFON investigators were really good. We kind of had the good cop, bad cop. You know, the one guy was the believer and the other guy was the, oh, well, you know, it could have been flares. It could have been, you know, he was the, you know, I get it. It was kind of the Fox and, you know, Scully, you know, they were, you know, they had to play off each other. But after it was over, they basically just, that was it. You know, they didn't do anything else with it. There was no follow up. You know, it was just kind of like, oh, well, we kind of just let it go. I mean, my dad owned his own business at the time, and I think he was afraid of the fallout if it got out, you know, maybe losing customers or whatnot. And, you know, the internet not being as big as it was, we didn't know what to do with it at that point. You know, we couldn't do anything with it ourselves. And, you know, for years, you know, it was kind of locked away in the back of my head. And then, you know, within the last couple of years, it's become more and more acceptable to talk about it. You know, you can bring it up at the dinner table and people don't look at you like you're cross-eyed. You know, every time my wife and I, you know, I coach softball and do some other things, we meet some new people. She's always like, don't bring up the UFOs and the ghosts.
Yeah, I know. My friends will be like, do you have to say it before, you know, do you have to say it? I'm like,
yeah,
I do.
Test the waters.
Yeah, she's like, don't bring it up. They're gonna think we're weird. And don't you know, like halfway through dinner or us hanging out, they're always like, you know, we start talking about that stuff, and then she's like, great, now you guys are nerding out. You know, they're asking questions, and there's a lot of people that I think are closet believers or have questions, and you know, I think it's just more, you know, now that they call it a UAP and not a UFO, it sounds a little less scary. So.
Well, UAPs are the government. The UFOs, that's the way we look at it anyway. But isn't it funny? I said as soon as you start talking UFOs, you usually see a quarter of the room like run for the doors, it seems like, or get up and excuse themselves as far away from the conversation as they can get. I'm like, it's so, my friend, I just remember, I'm like, what is the deal? Like, why does it matter if I ask somebody? She's like, don't you ever think maybe you've seen too much or you know too much? And I'm like, oh, one of those. Yeah. Not a chance. But yeah, I get that. There's nothing like being pegged to the crazy UFO person in your community. I mean,
now that I'm 49, I really don't care anymore. You know, you can think what you want of me. I'm not afraid to talk about it anymore. It is what it is. So, and I think it's something more people are going to have to live with.
Yeah,
I've had it used against me, but yeah, definitely. It's hopefully we're past that.
Wasn't it Stephen Bass that said, you know, here we should be at the time when everybody around the holiday tables now are going to be looking to us for answers. The more of this stuff's coming out in the internet and all these apps and from sources.
Yeah.
They're going to be looking to us for answers.
That's what Bassett says, yeah. Well, he even took it a step further, and he's like, you know, there's going to be lists, and now they're done with the government, you know, and now they'd like to hear what the civilians had to say. And I was like, what? And so all these years when you guys have like pretended like we had no, they did not care what we were saying. And then it turns out, well, yeah, no, actually they do care. And now that AI has transcribed every single video, there's a protection plans that I've seen, even like, oh, your local media is going to come looking for you. They're going to have all these the government's going to bring. I said, I want no part. I will not do the work of the government. I don't care. I'm not doing it. You're going to have to find another sucker. It's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I do. And now everything's transcribed. So we're already in over our heads, you know?
Yeah. There's that joke. It's like, eventually you're going to wish, you know, you stayed in contact with your conspiracy friend.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Those conspiracy friends, we will come in handy.
Yeah.
Let me tell ya. You just got to stay one step ahead of it. And it really is. And when you see something that's so profound like that, and it's just like, man. So the local community that it was in, Lake, is it Oneida? Am I pronouncing that correctly? Is there do they celebrate it? Do they talk about it? Is it kind of hush hush?
No, there's, like I said, it just kind of just disappeared, you know, off the records. There's a lot of sightings in the area. It's kind of a hotbed, this area. But even if you try to Google it on YouTube, you know, you get more fishing with lights and hunting with lights. If I tagged it Oneida Lake lights. UFO, and you know, it's buried. It used to be up at the top, and it's even buried down there. So, you know, I've contacted the news. I've contacted, you know, kind of really didn't know who to contact really with it. You know, that's why, you know, when Ben Hansen found it, I was pretty excited for that. You know, he helped bring it back to light. You know, there was a bunch of TV stations and stuff that contacted me about it, and then right before it aired, you know, all these the TV stations were like, oh yeah, we want to talk to you about it and stuff. And then nothing, kind of like they were, they just, it is what it is.
You mean, so did they actually air what had happened, or did they just not at all cover it? Did they do coverage on it?
No, they didn't. There was nothing. The local newspaper lady she talked to me about it and stuff. And she's like, oh, this is pretty big. Ben Hansen's a big name, and, Travel Channel, I think it was Travel or History. I always get it mixed up, or Discovery. One of those. She's like, oh, this is pretty big. They paid, they had a reenactment. They set everything up. And then never heard back from her. I reached out to her, and she didn't push the issue. So I kind of just let it go. If they don't want to work with me, I'm not going to go out of my way to work with them.
Yeah, I was surprised, even myself, living here 20 minutes from you, and I stumbled across the footage on another channel that I enjoy, and it's buried within their content.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it does get buried. It does get buried very quickly. That's for sure. Yeah,
it's tough trying to, especially now with AI and, the videos, and it's hard to, I read a lot of the comments. There's a gentleman from Europe who posted my video, and it's got a couple thousand clicks now and comments. And, I've gone on and commented as much as I can to try to stay involved with people and to share my story. And there's still the people that are like, oh, it's CGI, it's AI, it's blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it was filmed in 97. If I had access to AI and CGI, I'd be living a much better life right now back then. But, there's still a lot of people that are doubters, and, it's tough with the AI and the CGI now to actually know what's credible and what's not. When we go up to Happy Valley, I'm like, if we filmed a Bigfoot walking across the road and he came over and drank a beer with us, no one's going to believe it. They're going to think it's a AI and CGI. If UFO flies over the top of our car, everyone's, oh, that's CGI, it's AI. It's going to be hard going forward to really know what's real and what's not. That's why I like a lot of the older stuff. The old VHS videos, the old stuff from the 70s, 80s, 90s. I think it's more credible than anything you pull out of the woodwork today.
I do too. It just, I remember Rodney, he probably remembers. I'm like, once we get, this AI, we can't, all of a sudden it's like, now we can no longer trust the footage. When it was CGI before, there was ways of running it through, and you could see things in the background. You could tell if it was CGI or not. Yeah. And now it's like, but almost like the too good to be true videos. I'm like, those are AI. But then I see them starting to put some of the same, flaws in them like we would. And I'm like, oh God, here we go,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is. It's impossible.
Yeah, AI, that's why it's going to be great to have footage, like you said. There's footage going back, even it's reel to reel from the 50s. But they're going to think that was fake too. So we got to take the cases we knew all about up until the time we got AI. It doesn't discredit everything that's happened after that, though, really. No. It's going to be difficult. It is. It's going to be ugly.
Yeah. I don't know how to. I think, I don't know, are we in over our heads on this one with the whole, I don't know. Just, we need to but then it's like, if AI takes over, I don't want AI to think that I hate them, necessarily, but it's like, I don't want to destroy you, but it's just like, come on, just hit that magnetic pulse and let's get it out of the way with. But it really does. It's going to skew everything. It's going to be so hard, and it's going to create more doubt. That's what I see happening. It's like, we're just prolonging the inevitable. And then they're so, the technology and the holographic technology that they have is so far. I think they're blocking a lot of them out as of the last year. I really do.
Yeah, with the AI, it's just tough because, it's hard to know what's real and what's not. With people saying my stuff's AI and CGI, it's like, mine was filmed in 97, but that's their first answer to everything now is everything's fake. It's not. So, what's the benefit of coming forward now if you actually caught evidence unless you actually have a body or a craft or, a dead Sasquatch in an ice box. It's, there's no real reason to come forward now, because you're going to get scrutinized and tore apart by people. I think worse than back when I saw the video back in 97. So
it is. And then the more, unfortunately, that I found, the more attention like it gets. There's a certain segment of lunatics in this community, and they're the trolls, and they are the ones that don't eat, sleep, breathe. The only thing they do is like follow this stuff, and it's so rude, and the stuff that they do is like impossible. That I encourage people. I'm like, I don't even listen to that, because it's just like, it's almost like they're paid opposition. If they're not paid, they are even dumber than what I think they are. For real.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I've talked to Rodney about, this summer when we go up there to Happy Valley to try to, I feel like that's going to be my best option to figure out what happened, is to capture something up there that correlates to what we've seen. The area that we go to investigate is, so they were able to triangulate between the 3 videos that we had, the lady from Ogdensburg, the gentleman from Clay, Cicero area, and then my video. They were able to triangulate over the state, kind of near Camden, Williamstown, Altmar. That area is where the lights were seen over, which that's nowhere near, Fort Drum or Griffiths Air Force Base. If those places were testing some kind of secret thing over 3 nights, why not come out to the public and say, hey, we're going to be testing some high altitude flares tomorrow. If you see some weird crap in the sky, don't freak out. Don't start calling 911. In that area they were testing isn't over military property. So, they're definitely violating some airspace stuff there, if that's what they were doing, which, I definitely don't think they were. We caught them in the lie. But when we go up there to investigate, I was talking to Rodney about, maybe I think you go up kind of to Redfield area. You've been up there. If he's up that way, he's a little farther north and we're down there. Maybe between the 2 of us, we can kind of capture something a little more, and be able to triangulate maybe where it is, or maybe dial it in and get better video or chase it down. So.
Yeah, I'm up for chasing them down and coordinate the nights when you go up there. I'm free almost all the time for overnights.
Yeah, we've done a couple live videos from up there, but it's kind of dark. It's pitch black. You can see the Milky Way from up there. It's so dark. There's no light pollution. We've gone live a couple of times when we've seen stuff, and nobody can really see anything. I've got LED lights and stuff, but it's not going to show stuff up in the sky.
I can't believe anybody. I was living in Camden in 97, and I can't believe nobody was talking about it. I don't remember hearing anything about it. Nobody witnessed it from where I was at.
Yeah, it was on Fox 68 News. That's who came out and did the news thing, and then it made the Post Standard. It was like the third section, but on the front page of that. But they had little green men. The newscast had the X-Files. It was kind of, they kind of made it campy with the music, and then when the paper article had little green men, like little toys, kind of posted with some of the stuff we had. It was kind of like they were making fun of it maybe, or just playing off of it a little bit.
Yeah, it's to be expected though, because it wasn't accepted then. Now, when you look back on it, I'm thinking about it. If you're looking across the lake at all these lights, there's a dozen of them going across there. That thing is enormous. If it's one ship, it had to be 2 to 3 miles wide.
Or do you think they were the light spheres?
Like individual, not one big entity?
Well,
maybe
I've seen it, the first craft that I had was 50 foot in diameter, is 30 feet away, and it shot off into 7 or 8 of the light spheres. I've also come in contact with the light spheres where I've seen them where they're encapsulated. So it's like, I was like looking around, I'm like, unless you were right down in the area that I was in, you would not be able to see them. Which I thought was interesting. But yeah, I don't know. You hear that like the light spheres go along with it, but I saw a full craft and that thing shot off into, like I said, 7 or 8 of those light spheres. I used to call them light balls, but That's not very professional. I was told. So.
No, I know. I've had some people, some people that have looked at it ask, they've said it was a craft and, one big object. And I've had a lot of people that have looked at it have said now, well, it looks more like a bunch of multiple smaller craft, even orbs, some kind of orbs that were, manifesting over the area. I've seen a lot, again, when I've seen it recently, up that way, it looks the exact same, and this time it looked like smaller little ones just launching. So, maybe part of it was an orb, maybe part of it was a larger ship, like a giant mothership dropping smaller orbs. Maybe that's what the giant triangle we saw the last night we were there, that flew over the house was. I know my mom
cloaking, maybe they were cloaking. I don't know.
Yeah. I know my mom, when she was little, she was on a swing set and there was an orb flew around her and her sister and then flew away. So she's had some weird experience when she was younger. And,
is she part Native American? Is that where the heritage comes from?
I think there is some, I know on one of our sides, there's some Native American, but there's a lot of Norwegian, Bosnian, Polish. But I do know there is a little bit of North American, Native American. I'd probably have to look into that a little bit more and see what percentage and what side that came from.
I'm surprised you didn't ask if he had RH negative blood, though.
I'm AB negative, so no. My grandmother was RH negative. Do you know your blood type? We're just getting real personal in here.
I need to. That's one thing I've always meant to do when I go get blood work done is I want to ask what type I am, and I always forget.
No, it is weird. I only know it only kind of stumbled onto it because my grandmother was RH negative. I had got 2 O negative parents, and I'm AB negative, which the chances of that are like really, really low. But I was really jaundiced as a child. That's why when you said before about the jaundice with the blood, I know a little bit about that. But you should definitely check into it because most I find either B negative, AB negative, or RH negative, that there's a different type of experience that comes along with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know when I was jaundiced, my eyes were yellow, my skin was yellow. There was just, and then basically snap of a finger and it was all gone. The doctors were kind of, I think they were more perplexed than I was about what happened. So, that was probably one of the weirdest things that happened besides the gentleman in the house, and sleeping with the baseball bat. That was a weird thing. I didn't grab the baseball bat and swing at him either. Sleeping with the baseball bat under the pillow, you don't get a lot of sleep. And I didn't sleep a whole lot that summer, but, that was one of my friends asked me, he's like, why didn't you swing the baseball bat at him? And I said, I didn't feel scared, when he was talking to me. So it was like a trance.
I think they do that too. Did you feel like you were under some sort of like sedation or there was any sort? Yeah, okay. Definitely.
It was like a fog.
Yes. I've heard that described a multitude of times. Definitely.
My blood type is THC. Nice.
I know. I thought that was so funny. Happy, healthy. Like that was great. Thank you for that. We appreciate it. See, Benno, you're not alone. Benno before wrote something really funny. That's why I kind of was laughing, and I didn't want you guys to think I was laughing at you. So I put his comment up, and he always gives a hard time. He's like, just remember, everybody, it's fair game in here, like posting comments.
Well, I've heard people talk about THC and how it was brought to us from aliens. That's a real weird story. I've heard people talk about before, but so maybe he's onto something.
He could be. But he must be feeling better than we are because he's got his blood is THC positive. That's funny. That is funny. Oh man, that really. Yeah. So I apologize for the outburst there, but that's what that was funny. That we needed to laugh. Some of the time, the stuff it is very consuming and is very serious. And I find it so interesting that your mom had that experience with that orb. Anybody else in your family, like outside of this, have connections with ET or UFOs?
Not that anybody ever came forward and said. One of the other weird things was, so as a child, I used to have a dream where I got chased by a giant ball, like giant ball, like, half the size of a house, just this giant ball, and it would roll, and I would run and run and run, and I'd wake up sweating and yelling. And we were watching an episode of Unsolved Mysteries one night, and they were talking about dreams. And I was sitting there with my parents, and I was like, oh, I've had this horrible dream my whole life, and my parents are like, what do you mean? I go, well, when I wake up screaming and yelling, and it would happen more so than not. I was like, it was a giant ball that would chase me everywhere I went. I couldn't get away from it. And then it would just come right at me. And then right before it hit me, I would, shake, wake up and be yelling. And I look over and both my parents are ghost white. And my dad was almost thrown out of the military because he was on an aircraft carrier, and in his bunks, he would wake up all through when he was younger and while he was in the military, having the exact same dream. It was a giant ball that would chase him. And it wasn't until the psychologist on the carrier pulled him aside and said, try to imagine yourself when you're running, run to a corner and hide. The ball can't get you in a corner.
Oh, wow.
And so he told me that. And then subconsciously, I kind of remember having the dream. And I remember hiding, like telling myself, I got to go to a corner, and never had the dream again after that. Like it kind of ended it.
Do you think it was like a screened memory, or do you just think it was kind of, that is interesting.
Yeah, it was weird that we both had the same dream, and I do remember another time when we were younger. We were living in Maryland at the time. My dad had the flu really bad, and he woke up and he was looking out the bathroom window, and he was talking of, kind of delirious. I think he was, sweating or whatever. And my mom went in to help him, and he was looking out there, and he's like, do you see it? And he's like, do you see all the crosses? There was all, he could see like crosses and tombstones. And my mom's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And she tried to get him up out of the bathroom and got him into the bedroom. And she's like, I'm going to go get you a glass of water. And my dad turned to my mom and looked her dead in the eye and said, that's what they want you to do. Don't leave. And she's like, I froze right there. She's like, I couldn't get out of the bed. It was kind of a weird experience that, she couldn't explain what it was and, what he meant or who was waiting for her. But she's like, I didn't come out of the bedroom that night.
And did you see in the comments, somebody said, I've had the same dream, chat about.
Oh yeah, Dave. I know Dave.
Oh, you know Dave. Okay. That's it.
That's interesting.
Did you know that? Or did you guys know that about one another?
No. Yeah, it's a weird, just a giant ball, and it just rolls and rolls and rolls. And I had that through my whole childhood. I used to hate it. I would hate going to bed sometimes because of it. Wow.
Were you a sleepwalker?
No, the only time I was ever found outside of my room was by my roommate when he found me in the living room. And what's weird is, so I used to have that dream all the time, or that experience, and I didn't have it so much maybe when I was living with my parents when we had the dog, and I was having it again when I moved out. I didn't have a dog at the time. I had a cat. And when my wife and I got married, we moved into our first home. We had a dog, and I woke up in the middle of the night and the dog was growling, staring at the doorway, and he wouldn't leave the bed. His hair was all stood up on his back, and he was hunched up, and he was a big Rottweiler German Shepherd mix. And we've never seen him do that before. And he was dead right, glaring into the doorway, hair up, growling. My wife woke up and thought somebody was in the house. I grabbed my gun and the dog, and we walked through the house. But since then, I've always had a dog, and I've never had that experience again. And, a lot of people, when I've read in UFO lore and stuff, say that they're scared of dogs for whatever reason. If you own a dog, it's harder for them to sneak into your home because dogs are more in tune with whatever, they're able to hide. A lot of people say you can only see them out of the corner of your eyes. They're like fast walkers,
Dogs and cats can see them for what they are, you're saying?
Right. Yeah. The dogs can actually see them. So, I've heard, I can't remember where I've read it, but, there's people talk about, dogs, owning a dog helps, they kind of wards away them.
Poncho in the chat, he said he brings his dog everywhere. Valdo wants to know, did dream or out-of-body experience at all? Have you had any out-of-body experiences?
No, I don't think I've ever, I've always, I've read, I used to read how to try to do it. You do the breathing exercises and the lights and the sounds. And, I've known people that haven't been able to like do it. They say at will, they can do stuff, but I've tried to do it and never, and I don't think I've ever experienced. If I did, I didn't remember.
I can't do it that way either. I can't wait for the vibrations to go. I can do it. I've also been taught another way. If you know what somebody sounds like, and you remember like what they look like, and you can't fall asleep doing it, meditating it, that you can you get pretty good at it. You can pop yourself out and you kind of show up like an orb.
Interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So Rodney, you said last night you were talking, what's that?
That might be what some people see when they see orbs going through their houses, somebody remote viewing them.
It's not, well, I guess I never looked at it like remote viewing because it's different. It's like when you do it or when I'm there, it's like a real plain version. I not always can tell exactly like, what your house layout is like. It doesn't work like that. Not for me anyway. I'm not that far along into it, but I always ask for permission or whatever. But that's how, because I can't do it the other way. I've tried to get out so many times and I'm like, forget this. Like, it's not going to work for me. But then somebody's like, it's because you get too excited. I'm like, but that's my personality. So I don't know, like sedate myself then and try, and then I fall asleep. But not that I sedate myself, but if I am like meditating, I really do. I'll just conk out and be like, okay, sleep upside down in your bed so you're not as comfortable, and maybe you can stay awake to that point of doing it. But I mean, everybody's
Didn't you say that you're susceptible to hypnosis if you watch a movie too, though?
I'm really susceptible to it. Really?
That part's easy, but the astral projection's a little bit more work, though.
Oh, have you ever been hypnotized like by somebody who has you get up on stage and do goofy things, funny things?
No.
I have, and I found that I go under. It's almost scary how quick I go under. Like it's like, I'm like, man, I'm not a good feeling when you know that. And that's why I don't really trust some of the hypnosis stuff. Like how are they not? Because we're so open to that power of suggestion. I don't want them planted there. I want my own organic. Like, and I just don't even really think it's about necessarily the memories, because that's like putting together a jagged, like, you get these like little glimpses of a movie, and what movie is this? Like, hell if I know, you really can't tell because you just have those pieces of it.
Yeah, they could unintentionally cause you to have a false memory. It's good that we remember them in pieces. Yeah, we remember them in pieces for a reason.
Well, you know what Daryl Sims would say? Daryl Sims would say that they set it up as the least resistance. If we can just get people to go along with this and, whatever, then we'd rather have it that way. He also says, like, well, sometimes the reason you get put back, and this is, I'm not laughing because I think this is funny, but the way he said it, and I was like, I had to stop and think, and I was like, this is a possibility, so I have to consider it. He said, okay, so you get your clothes come on backwards, you get dropped off, a block away. It's not because these beings are so smart. He said it's just the opposite. They have an IQ of about 80 at best. It's because they're too stupid. And I was like, oh.
Depends on which one's working. Yeah.
That is a possibility. So, there's just so many different things. And I'm like, with anything, I just think that there's a spectrum. There's good, bad, in between. I think the government has their hands in it. How much of it this is our government's games and how much of it this is organic. That's a part in me where I'm just really kind of gets me riled up from time to time.
Well, Rodney and I were talking last night about Montauk, and then how they closed that. And some of it was moved up to upstate here, right near Rome Griffiths Air Force Base, which is only 30 minutes down the road from here. You know, I may or may not have, in case people are listening, infiltrated.
This is for entertainment purposes only. We had somebody
Yes.
get across over into Area 51.
He knows a guy, right? You know a guy.
Deny it all day long. Deny it.
I know a guy who jumped over a fence into an old radar station in Vernon, New York. It had a bunch of the big domes and buildings, giant padlocks on the door. And this guy brought a giant pair of bolt cutters and cut the locks off with his friend. And they snuck into this base. And a lot of the stuff was ripped out of there. There was still old computers, and like the giant computers from like the 70s and 80s, ones with the giant green screens. You know, the hard drives were as big as your car.
This place was since '95.
Yeah, it looked like it just somebody turned the key and locked it and walked out. You know, there was a lot of black mold, which, you know, this person was probably stupid not wearing a respirator at the time, but we were walking around in there and we found a bunch of file cabinets, and inside one of the file cabinets were old blueprints, these giant blueprints, and, you know, huge giant sheets of like satellites and domes and stuff. And the more we dug, we found out it was a deep space research or deep space substation. They were listening into deep space. Now, the original designation was it was supposed to be a Russian missile monitoring station. But if you dig into online and some of the stuff that we pulled up written on some of the files and stuff, it was a deep space monitoring substation. We kind of worked our way through the building a little bit more, found what looked like two giant doors that went down into the underground. And when I say giant, like you could drive a tractor trailer through, and they were locked. I mean, they were welded shut. So it makes me believe that there was some type of tunnel system that maybe connected it to Griffiths Air Force Base, which was about 20 minutes down the road. But, you know, that was, you know, to imply with the whole Montauk thing, you know, who knows when they moved it up here, what type of stuff they were doing in the 90s and 80s, you know, with people, you know, with their dreams, or, you know, stuff people thought they were dreaming when we were talking about just a little while ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if you want to know anything about the Montauk Project, Brian Minnick is the Montauk
I was
guy.
gonna say you should put him in contact. I was thinking that before. You should put him in contact with Brian. He would be able to.
We're going to get him in contact with a few people. He's going to enjoy his friends he's going to get now. It's called.
Yeah. This is a fun part. I always think, but Brian would be a good one. There's nobody that knows Montauk better than Brian. Nobody.
Interesting.
Montauk Minute.
Yeah, he's great. High-strangeness. He definitely. You definitely want to. That's a good point, Rodney. He'd gone out there since he was a kid.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go out there.
It seems like this would be the best time to do it because you said that place has a lot of ticks.
Oh God, yeah. I just saw somebody post about ticks on their thing. You know, you get bit by one now, and you can't eat meat.
Yeah, but they let go of the bugs out there on what do you call it? Oh gosh, what is that place? It's right out in New York. Like out near where they did all the government testing. I'll think of it in a minute. They're the ones that released all of the what do you got going on? What were we talking about? Lyme's disease? Yeah, from and I cannot remember.
Oh, Plum Island?
Plum Island, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. So normally I'd say, oh, forget that, but no, you guys are too close to some real serious like government testing spots, and they don't usually like go very far. You know, they go underground if anything.
Mm-hmm. We have Watertown, New York, which is 40 minutes up the road. And the nickname for Area 51 is Watertown. And if you go up to, there's a park in Watertown. If you go up to it, they actually have like a big picture of a gray alien. He's green, and they have a big sign. And apparently there's a portal there in the park that moves itself around. And if you walk through the portal, people have time traveled. They've gone forward, backwards in time. They've stepped in it and shown up a mile into the park. Apparently there's a story of a gentleman that went into it and he's never come back. We're going to definitely go up there this summer and try to check that thing out. see what's going on. But it's just a weird correlation that they nicknamed Area 51 Watertown. And, we have it right up here. I know there was a story that general or somebody that ran it was from the area or something. I'd have to look more into it. I don't remember what the correlation was, but yeah, there's weird stuff all over this area up here.
Yeah, because we're between the Griffiths Air Force Base and Fort Drum, and we know the connection is phenomena. That's when I started thinking about the connection that everything I've experienced may not be off-world extraterrestrial alien. That it could be my lab, military abductees program.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I think everybody that's had legitimate experiences is possibly also a victim of that, and they don't know the difference.
I found my way in. I don't know, Rodney. I know everybody's heard me talk about it. I was recruited for the Gifted and Talented program at the age of 4, and then I came in contact with Laura Eisenhower and some other people. Well, now it's a thing. They call it the Gate Project, and it goes through, and the CIA has a gateway. And I'm like, this is I really, truly, in my heart of hearts, think that there's a connection then with MRIs and things. I think it's like the Montauk civilian version Montauk. I think they identified people. A ton of us remember kind of the same thing. I shouldn't say a ton of us. The ones that I have actually found, and I'm like, this is not a new SSP, because people should not jump on board. People are looking for real answers here. Anytime you've had any sort of special type of learning, I heard that's a marker right there.
Yeah, and sensory tests.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, we were talking. I was just talking to Doc Skinner about this too. He's a gateway kid, and he said, "Do you remember when they bring in?" And I remember the Monroe Institute, the earphones, and then they're testing and the hearing, and all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
all connected.
Goosebumps.
Yeah, yes.
I could remember taking them tests, but it was in elementary school, and I don't remember a soundproof room in that school, but I remember going into a soundproof room.
Isn't that interesting?
Raise your hand if you hear it out of the side. And
Yep. And they were looking for people who could see, I think, beyond the veil. Now, there's different, people have different views as to why, it's just opinion. It's strictly speculation. Like, they think that they were looking for the rebels to control. Or I don't even think that. I think that they somehow know that we're coming over on this end, and they need to identify us for whatever reason. That's as far as I've gotten. But in everything that I've seen. Oh, and they, my buddy Paul, he's my birthday twin. Paul's an experiencer. He lives up in Canada. He's absolutely great. He affects electricity. He's definitely one of us. He wants to know if like Plum Island or any of those places land on ley lines.
I think I've looked into it. I know there's a ton of ley lines that crisscross. I know Happy Valley nicks a ley line where we have all the experience with the Sasquatch and the ghosts and UFOs. I think one goes across where Griffiths is, and I believe another one goes across where the other military base is. Plum Island, I'd have to look. I haven't personally looked of that, but I know just a few months ago I was trying to pull up a ley line map of New York State to see if where some hot spots might be. But there's so many different maps out there. You pull up one on one site, one on another site. I don't know which ones are real and which ones aren't. There's each map I pulled up was different. Brian's
putting together a map of Montauk, and he's gone off because I'm like, do you think there's underground, water? There's so many things and so much that he's taking a different route. He's like, we're going and see what logically makes sense. If we're ending, like here, but we see this, and this, then we're going to go and assume and check out our hypothesis. Where usually people are like, oh, nope, it just ends there. He's really doing some pretty cool work with that. I'd have to say. Yes, definitely.
Well, what's crazy is when they were doing those experiments, they could just set up shop in a town and do whatever they wanted. They could go in and take a busload of kids or a busload of adults, and it was none the wiser. They set up near that town just down the road and did all sorts of crazy experiments on those people with the different waves and the mind testing, and they brought them into the labs. And a lot of these people, through hypnosis are remembering, being in those labs and almost tortured, the experiences. And, now, I think like you were talking about, like that gate the Gate Project, that
Mm-hmm.
got to be a little more secretive on how they find people for, whatever they're doing, with testing and stuff. You can't just, like there's a lot of people that airplane that went missing. What was it? MH370
Yep.
A few years ago. There's a lot of people that think, UFO abducted the plane. There's a lot of people that think the government abducted it. So they had more people to, for whatever reasons, do testing and stuff. But, I think there's a lot more of that goes on around the world that, they discredit as one thing, but, they need bodies for testing and doing stuff. They can't manipulate people as easily as they did back in the 60s, 70s, and 50s.
No. Yeah, you're right.
They'll get you to come in for a sleep test because you have night terrors or sleep apnea, and it's actually they're going to be doing some other tests on you.
Mm-hmm. I actually work at a sleep lab. We have a sleep lab as part of our business. And it's amazing the amount of people that come in for sleep apnea or people that have sleep terrors.
Oh yeah, the night terrors. Oh yeah. I say there's really only one way in through this. It's trauma. The trauma is the way in. You just have to keep it under control. For whatever reason, it's through that trauma that you are able to get there.
Yeah,
like, you ever see the movie Fourth Kind?
Yeah.
I have not.
That movie, I was in the theater, and not a lot of movies have freaked me out, but that movie really, really kind of hit me.
I'll have to watch that one because I try and stay away from them because I'm like it irritates me because I'm like they're making a mockery of it if it's something or people are not going to know if it actually happened because it doesn't look anything like the way they portray it to be. But
she actually shows the tapes.
Oh wow, okay.
So they'll show you like the actor, and then they split the screen in half, kind of like we have here. Oh. And then it shows the person, like going through, like stretching, their back breaking, and so that's what gives it some credence, But yeah, that
I didn't know that. You have to watch it.
The owl. Somebody posted the owl. There's a lot of people that believe the owl was hiding the gray aliens peeking through the windows and stuff. We've had a lot of experience.
Screened memory? Did they think that the owl was like a screened memory? Oh, Paul just. Oh.
Yeah, I think they believe because the owl, the eyes, they kind of look like a gray. The people just associate an owl with the gray, not the gray.
I've seen an owl, and I had no idea. I thought that was the cute little, and then it took and its wings and it flew off, and I said, "What the hell was that? That was not that cute little." That was like, yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was like, I'm
the Mothman.
Yeah, I don't even.
Well, we've been up to Happy Valley one of the first times we went up there, and there's always owls everywhere. Like, it's the sounds they make are terrifying. And we were actually leaving one night after we had some cool experiences, and as we're driving down the road, there was we were spotlighting. We had a big spotlight. We were looking for ghosts, Bigfoot, anything we could find kind of through the woods as we were leaving, and up in the trees. It was owl after owl after owl. There was probably 15, 20 owls sitting in the trees. I don't know if maybe it was the same one and he was moving and following us, or the couple. But there was just crazy, they're called barred owls. That's the name of them. And they were basically following us down the road, or they were just lined up in the trees. But that was a super creepy experience. Tied in with the whole, people believe owls are a form of a gray. You see the owl versus seeing the gray.
Yeah, they're generally solitary animals. They don't fly in packs and flocks.
No, they don't.
No,
so true.
I've had an experience once like that in Pine Bush when me and the wife went to a UFO fair and met Travis Walton and Thomas Reed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we were camping on a dead end road. You go all the way to the dead end road, then you're taking a dirt road, and they put us in a campsite that was in the back of the camping area, all by yourself. And we were sleeping one night, and like you were saying, we had owls all around us, and I thought that was very strange. you don't see that many or hear that many owls all at once usually.
No, that is weird. Yeah, that is very weird. I'd run for my life. See you guys later. I'm out of here. After I saw those wings, I was just like that. It looked like a you would expect to see like a fallen angel or something come out of the sky. I mean, they was huge. I was like, oh my God, those are not nice little hooting owls. Those are, I don't know, they're crazy.
Not the Tootsie Roll pop owl.
Yeah, right. How many licks? Like, he looked really nice, crunching through that nice, Tootsie Pop. But nope, I don't think so. Man, see, a lot comes with this. So how do you stay grounded in all of this? Chad, it's good that you have Rodney and within distance. Are you guys far apart from one another? Or are you pretty close?
Probably 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Should get a group going.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's more out there.
So I used to be part of a paranormal group in the area. And then I kind of left. I had a pretty gnarly experience one night, and I walked away for a good 6 months. And then I came back. The gentleman that runs it kind of brought me back to kind of face my fear with it. But after that, I branched out and got more into the UFO stuff. I do some treasure hunting. But the paranormal and the UFO stuff is, I've got a small little group of people right now and we usually, we try to get together as much as possible and, try to find something we can get into to help, maybe find some answers.
Yeah.
Definitely like to get Rodney involved, get him, out there with us.
Last time I went, Chad, I usually go by myself, and it gets pretty freaky doing this stuff by yourself and you got nobody with you. It felt like they started feeling like they're around me and they're cloaked. So I took a picture one night and I got a picture of one that looks like it's cloaked. I had to play with the contrast a little bit and stuff to bring it out so other people could see what I could see in the picture. But yeah, it's something that's got to be a group thing for me now if I'm going to go.
Yeah, I've always wanted to go up to Happy Valley by myself or go on an investigation by myself. And, I can't go out by, I've gone treasure hunting and hiked out in the woods by myself and I'll metal detect all day, but something about, going out looking for paranormal or UFOs or, alien stuff. I usually, when I brought my son up and his, two of his friends right before winter hit, it was the last time, it was in November. I brought him on a UFO hunt and, we were out on, it's called Long Lake, near Williamstown, and there's it's kind of a split. The lake is split in half by a dirt road and a bridge. So we go out and park on the bridge because nobody can sneak up on you. It's 100 yards in each direction down this road. So you feel pretty safe. If anybody's going to run at you, they got to be coming 100 yards in up a dirt road. So we were up there and one of their buddies isn't a believer. And my one son, he kind of, he laughs. He's walked by a couple times tonight and laughed at me. But he, they kind of changed their tune. I brought him up there and, my other son, he's the one that, videotaped the UFO and, he was there with us the night we contacted him and, we think we talked with the witch. And we set up and, they're up there goofing around, throwing rocks in the water and stuff. And all of a sudden, we estimate it was probably like a 2-foot rock landed within 30 yards of us, and they kind of freaked out. And then another rock landed about 20 yards from us. It got even closer. And at that point, I even kind of, I've never really been freaked out by the stuff. And I kind of told them to huddle up next to the truck. And then we had another one land about 10 yards from us in the water. And we were only able to see the rocks because we were shining a flashlight in that area and we saw the rocks pierce the light as it hit the water. Oh, and we were the closest shoreline is about 340 yards or feet from where we were. So we went home and used Google Earth to determine how many feet it was from us, that something was throwing the rocks at us. And so as a joke after that, I picked up a stone and just chucked it up in the air and it landed about a foot from us. And you want to see two tough boys climb on top of each other and jump into a truck. Oh my God. My other son knew I was doing it. They were terrified. But, after that experience, they were hooked. They were like, oh my God, the one kid was telling his sister on the ride home what had happened. And, we saw the orbs up in the sky. So, it's, when you get something like that happening, it kind of brings everything back into perspective.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's always fun too to bring people up that don't believe or they're against it. It's like I always tell my friends, they're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, then come up there with me one night or go on an investigation. We'll go somewhere one night, or, I'll bring you to a haunted house, or we'll go on a UFO hunt, and experience it.
So is this the area you're talking about? There's like Bigfoot activity. There's paranormal
people have
activity
seen a lot of big, snowmobilers see them, the Bigfoot cross the trails. There's a Bigfoot app you can download, and it shows all the reported locations. And we were a month after we went up there, a gentleman had posted the other side of the road that we were. He saw a 7-foot red harried creature walking on 2 legs through the woods. There's a ton of experiences. We were trying to find an outlet to figure out what to do with the tape. At one point, my friend and I, about 13 years ago, we were going to create a movie, like a horror movie. It was going to be a mix of like fiction and nonfiction. It was going to kind of tie into my tape. And we had what was it? I don't remember. Shoot. I just drew a brain fart.
That happens all the time. No need to worry about it. But you're up there and you're saying that they come in contact. What
Oh yeah. So we ran into tons of people that were sharing their stories with us. Driving through there, they would see figures, giant creatures walking through the woods. One gentleman saw like a floating skull chase their vehicle. People have been touched, pushed. They've had rocks thrown at them. People have seen like the bent trees, orbs ripping through the woods. So it's a very active area, and I almost feel like it's almost like a gateway or some type of, a portal or some type of, with the gentleman. I can't think of his name, but he does the missing 411.
Oh yeah, Plotties. Dave Plotty.
Yeah, it's almost kind of. He's talked about the portals and stuff sometimes. You almost feel like there's something like if there is ley lines or something under the area, some type of energy that brings all that stuff into that zone.
Where I found, and where I didn't found me, where the first UFO I encountered, there's an area stretching, there's like 7 or 8 Bigfoot sightings on a farm that's near there in the middle of nowhere. And there's a paranormal, there's like a church, and there's not even that, there's like a manor within 20 miles, but it falls on Native American grounds. I don't know how far it stretches, but I've been out there and it's insanity. Like I really, I don't know about the ley lines, but I do know, and maybe the ley lines do coincide with some of the Native American grounds. I don't know, but every single, that crossroad, even James Gillian that has the East Eddy Ranch, that right there falls near Native American grounds also. So
I'd have to look into that. We haven't dug that far back to see if it has been Native American lands. I know, like Rodney said, when it was Fraser, back in the 1800s, they were farming hops. It was a big hops farm. And then basically kind of overnight, everybody just up and vanished. The town grew in, the state bought it all 8,000 acres and turned it into a wildlife preserve. Like you can't go in and, they protected the land from nobody can go in and build and do anything. And now there's a lot of posted signs. They've been putting up a ton of posted signs on all the land. And, it's funny, it's all state land, but all these posted signs are popping up now. And I feel like they're trying to herd people away from going into certain parts of it
Yeah.
And the posted signs, they got to write who's posting it. Is it a private person?
No, it's just they're
government.
just posted signs.
Yeah.
So
Like-
we've I know some friends of mine that, again, a friend of mine that just pulls off and walks through those posted areas. He trespasses in there because it doesn't have a name or anything on it. So
Is it government signage or is it a person?
looks like the ones you buy at Home Depot.
Oh, for God's sakes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Be right behind. But why even? Yeah, that's just kind of stupid to do that. But you wonder, is it a part of the allure? But Generation Xers, we're going to stomp right on over those.
Yeah, until somebody pulls up and threatens me, then it is what it is.
Then you beat them up. That's how we would have done it back in the day. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. No, there is a fine line. Now, if it says no trespassing because you're on private grounds or whatever, I would definitely check into it. But, if there's just I don't know. Sometimes I always say smoke and mirrors. Like they say there's no way it was crazy for the longest time. There's this local cemetery. I promise it has a point to it, but everybody's like, it's a gate. It's like a metal. You're never getting in. You're never getting in. It extends. I'm like, trust me, we're getting in. And I mean, they fought me all the way down there. We pull up. I'm like, I walked to the side. I was like, hey guys, no, it's over here, right where that gate breaks off. You can just walk right in. Like there's no that, and then they're like, everybody's looking. I said, this is what it's like. I'm like, they used to have major meetings in circus tents in the middle of the city. This is how things are, operate the way they do. And it's crazy, but that's how they get by with it. It really is.
I feel like they hide a lot of stuff right in front of our faces.
Oh yeah. Right in front of our faces. And then once you start to see it, and then it's at first, you're just amazed, wow, is this really happening? But, I did a lot of cryptology and steganography, and I'd see how they would operate in these little cells. But they were able to communicate through our media or through, that's where Operation Mockingbird comes in handy. And so they can read between the lines. And when you start to see some of this stuff and how it's planned out, I mean, they know, when you know what's coming and what's planned, it's so much easier to maneuver through it. And when you're back here trying to figure out what the hell's next and where did this come from, it's a little bit, you're at a disadvantage point, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's all very fascinating. And I would love for you guys, you to come back on too and go through. Have you had encounters with Bigfoot, or how close have you gotten?
So we're going to be setting up some trail cams. My friend's using them for hunting right now, but he has some of those Verizon ones that link to your phone, so you can check the motion and stuff. So once the winter's up, we're going to go up there and put a bunch up into different trees in the area to try to get some footage. But that's one of the things we definitely want to start looking into up there, setting some offerings out, trying to, we always talk about, we always forget to bring out some, the plaster kits. And I'm like, God forbid we ever find a footprint, we don't have a place. So we got to bring plaster kits and stuff. But yeah, they've been logging a lot of the different areas too. They've been zoning it off and logging different parts of it. So I think it's been either moving some stuff around, or, it might help us with trying to locate something by, them cutting down some parts of the woods. It might force them out into different parts. Cause we've gone down, there's one road we've gone down, and I've done some calls and knocks. And the first time, I brought my son up, he was standing outside with us. It was dusk, and my buddy's there, and, we're yelling, doing the knocks and stuff. And I threw a rock in the woods, and probably maybe 10, 15 feet away, you could hear something big moving back and forth, like it was pacing back and forth like this. And my son jumped up and got in the car and locked the doors. And I'm like, well, you left us. But we've had that happen a lot, where we'll get out and we'll do some knocks and stuff will move in. We've had some, like the one time we had something whistle. It was it would make like a whistle, or it would sound like a bird. It was like 10:30 at night, and it would make a tweeting noise like a bird. And I'm like, there's no birds out in the middle of the night. You never hear birds making bird calls in the middle of the night. and we would do a knock and we would get a whistle. So we kept following it as we're driving. It was just moving. It was just moving ahead of us every time. Like it was, 100 yards, 200 yards ahead of us. Every time we would get out, make a knock, make a noise, whistle, it would do it. And we just never could catch up to it.
It's like mimicking.
Yeah.
Do you think, have you ever heard of anything clicking, like a clicking noise?
Yeah.
The one time we were up there, we had something going tung, tung, tung. It was making tung, 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 tung. It would make a noise like that. And it was about 50 yards. It was the only time I've ever been scared as an investigator.
Yeah.
We pulled off the road by the cemetery to do we were going to show my son the cemetery. And that's where we've contacted the witch before. And as we pull off, my friend's like, what the hell is that noise? And you hear tung, 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 like loud in the woods. And it kept repeating over. And I went to get out of the car and I heard it, and I had the parabolic ear out trying to see if I could hear anything with it. And all of a sudden, like I got goosebumps, the hair went up on my arms, got kind of nauseous, just a horrible feeling. And I jumped back in the car and I put the windows up, and we sat there for maybe 15 minutes. My son hung his phone out the window and recorded it a little bit. But I didn't dare get out of the car after listening to that sound. It sounded big and it sounded angry. But yeah, it was just a tung, 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 tung. It sounded just like that, and it would repeat. And we've tried, I've listened to, on the way home that day, we listened to like 100 different animal calls in New York State, and it didn't match up to any type of animal call I've ever heard.
Yeah, the one who was coming to mind for me was a partridge, but you say you looked it up.
Yeah, and this was a deep, big, like tung, 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 like, and this was probably 11:30, 12 o'clock at night.
I feel like I should know this, but yeah, you know what I mean? It kind of rings eerie.
We threw rocks at it in the direction. I got out at one point and I threw a rock and then jumped back in the car. And it didn't scare it away. We shined, and it felt like it was about 50 yards from us. Like I felt like I could have just ran into the woods, and most times I'd run into the woods after whatever it is, if you're out there looking for it,
right.
That's why we're there. And I couldn't get out of the car. I'm actually shaking now talking about it. It was pretty intense.
Well, I had outside my window, I had a clicking noise, like that's all way they could describe it. And then all of a sudden I get this whiff of this putrid smell. And then again, it would just be by this one window. I'd hear this just like clicking noise, like somebody took their tongue, like it's the roof of their mouth. This is the only way that I can describe it. And so I'm always asking everybody, I'm like, yeah, have you ever heard a clicking noise? Because anybody I've said, they say it's not a good sign. Like it's not a good thing. So
I know the smell. They say you can smell, like it smells like death, kind of like a fleshy.
That's what it smelled like too. But it wasn't like a strong, you'd think something like that. It was like a whiff of it that came through. And for something that strong, it should stay and linger. But this thing moves pretty quickly. It moves pretty quickly. And
Bigfoot doesn't use deodorant, so.
Yeah. Well, then it kind of gets even a step further, and I probably shouldn't even say this on air in case somebody local is listening, but the cursed land came up throughout this whole thing. So there's some cursed land, and I guess, the white man being me, I didn't ask to be the white man, but I don't have any Native American blood in me, and I guess that's not it's not the welcoming committee by any stretch of your imagination, but I don't know exactly what it is.
I had gone up there one time and I had COVID, and I figured it'd be good to just be outside. So my buddy and I went up and we were sitting, it was super cold that night. So just to be outside and breathe in, some cold air into the lungs. And every time I would cough, which was a lot, something on the shoreline, that place that we were at where that was throwing the rocks at us, about 340 feet from us, would cough back. I would go, and then you'd hear, it would cough, like mimic my coughing.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
And I started to just fake cough, and it would fake cough. Like it was such a weird, cool experience.
Somebody just had a name for that, like at the Echo, but you know what? I'll have to send it to you when I find it. I just came across something and it was like, wow, okay, that made sense. but they definitely do mimic. I think so much of the phenomenon itself will mimic, like when I'll see something and I know without a shadow of a doubt, I'm like, that is not an airplane. Then all of a sudden it switches and it'll kind of look like, I'm like, they're playing airplane or they're playing street. You know, it's like you see them and then it's all of a sudden they'll move or it's totally different. You know, it's just kind of, I think their way of maybe blending in, and probably told to stay as far away from those crazy humans as you can possibly get. You know, when you see one, you turn in, you know, you stand still, don't move. I don't know. You just wonder what it's like from their perspective.
Have you ever had anything out there, Rodney?
What in regards to
like Sasquatch or anything like that, like experience?
Yeah. Me and the wife took a walk in the woods up in Florence, and it was about 2 miles back in the woods. We set up some trail cameras. We went back up to go retrieve them, and we heard some coyotes off on the left side of us. And she got a little nervous. She's like, "We don't have to go get the cameras today." I was like, "Well, we're already up here. My health isn't that great. Let's do it and get it." So we go up there to get the cameras. On the way back, we took a break at a rock, and we just sat down and had a break. And we started hearing like large steps, like something walking, but it wasn't really trying to be too secretive. And then, like you're saying, things were getting thrown, and we heard the coyote pack on the right, and the Bigfoot or whatever was making these noises on the left of us. And we had to go home, was right in the middle of them. So I just told her, stay close to me and just keep walking that way. And the clicking, though, I've experienced the clicking once. I was at a friend's house. It was late at night last summer, and it did scare the shit out of me. And I thought it was like some kind of big insect. There was other insects making noises, but that clicking noise was in a way like kind of like the predator.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. And I thought it was some kind of big, like insect kind of creature is what my conclusion was. It didn't sound like anything I've heard before.
Did you see whatever it is, it moves really fast and it watches. I feel like it's a watcher. If that makes sense.
If either there was more than one of them or it moved fast, because it would, like, the sounds would be in a different place.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because this one, but see, I only have 2 windows, but it will go. But I can, like, I'm not even joking you. A dresser with 5 drawers dumped over in the middle of the night. Like it's got a time too. It's like right around like 12, between 12 and I'd say 3. You can really hear it like around, and the whole dresser dumps over. And I'm like, what is that? You know, I jump up out of bed. I turn my light on for my my phone. And then I was like, the only thing that's standing is the frame. All 5 dresser drawers do not come off, and everything on top, and the frame still stands there on a level plane. You know, there was nothing else. And I was like, whoa. So that was kind of like the kickoff to it. Like it's kind of calmed down since then, but I don't like the clicking noise. I don't like it. I don't know what it is.
I got in my car quick and
yeah, I can't believe you've experienced that too, Rodney. I was like, oh my God, what is this? Like, I've never, you know, it definitely beats a paranormal, because I don't know what the heck is, and I'm too afraid to look. I'm not afraid of stuff like this, but I will not even look out that window when I hear. I'm afraid like when something's gonna like come up and, you know, one of those like creepy white crawling things or whatever is gonna, like, you know, at the window. It's like something out of my intro video or something. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not
Slenderman type shit or something.
Yeah. That's what always irritates me, like the TV shows and stuff where they're out there investigating, trying to find ghosts or Sasquatch or whatever, or UFOs, and then they see something and then they just stand there. It's like, run towards it. You know, that's what you're there for. You want to find a ghost, you want to find Bigfoot, and they got it on a heat signature and they just stand there and film it for a few minutes, and then it goes off. It's like, you know, why aren't you moving towards it? You know, why, like Ronnie from Finding Bigfoot, or Expedition Bigfoot, the one episode, he goes running off towards it and he got yelled at by Mariah for putting herself and the whole party in danger. And it's like, you're there to find Bigfoot. You're not there to videotape sounds, you know. And that's why when I heard that sound the one time, I'm like, I froze. I was like, I couldn't get out of the car. I was like, you know, I threw the rock. I got out the one time with the parabolic ear, but, you know, I couldn't take off running towards it. You know, it's the only time we've heard stuff up there and we take off. We've had trees pushed over towards us, which I've spent a ton of time in the woods as a kid and my whole life. And I've never had a tree pushed over near us or heard a tree fall naturally. Yet alone, one time we had it happen twice. We've run towards the trees that we've heard, but yeah, that one time it was just, whatever it was, they say it gives off the terror tone that the Bigfoot, they can emit it's like a real low infrasound.
Oh yeah.
It causes people for your hair to stick up, to anxiety. And, maybe that's what.
So it's triggering that alarm system off because your anxiety is technically supposed to be there for something that, when you're in danger of something, but if we pattern it out the same, then it will trigger that. But that's, they're probably, it's like their fire shot, like their warning shot, like, because a lot of people they don't have, and when you're talking about it before, I was a mental health therapist for 7 years. So I always like tried to bring in this when I heard you talking about it. I always say there's, people run, it's deer. Oh God, no, I say fight, flight, or deer in headlight. So it's like, you have all three. Some people are that deer in headlight where it's like they're, but then somebody said to me, are you sure that in ET's case that they haven't, because they've had places where they could not move until the event was over. And I'm like, I don't know. I just told myself I was just going to stay there no matter what. And, I forced myself to, because there was nowhere to hide. Like I couldn't hide and it was too big. So, you just, I guess you wonder your body, that cellular memory, it really does. It can make or break a day. Definitely.
Well, these things are happening, and for us, they happen as a kid, and we say, we're not scared, but then like you're saying, they should go run towards it. But when you're in the moment, it is hard to do that. You got Dr. Steve telling people that they're all good, but we know through contact with other people that there are negative experiences.
Yes.
So and there's only speculation is all we can use, and our own judgment in the situation, if it's positive or negative. So if you feel it's negative, we probably shouldn't mess with it, because if it's
Well, I've heard like the Sasquatch, they're pretty, like, don't harm people, but there is also government labs where they've taken and they've mixed them and they've, so it's like, I'm not so certain. Like I've heard, Dogman, whatever. So Bigfoot and the big feet, they might be nice, whatever, but I'm not going to trust every single one of them just because we have it. We're people, not every single person, we're all if you're on planet Earth, I'm assuming you're on a spectrum. It's not just like you're enlightened, you're great. No, that's not even, I don't think that's the thing. I think that's what they would tell people when they told us not to question authority. And, if we had just only not listened to that, I think we'd be like, years and years ahead. But we were, it's like ingrained in you for whatever reason. I don't believe that either. I think we need to think on a spectrum, like, that they could be good, they could be bad. I'm with Rodney on that one, definitely.
Yeah, it might be a good one, but you catch it on a bad day.
Or it's hungry. I don't know. Or somebody a human just trying to shoot at it and it thinks it's you, and who God knows, what the scenarios are endless.
Well,
I always think, what's good.
Yeah, that's it. These things are unless provoked, they don't seem to do any harm to people. I mean, we've heard a lot of cases where everybody's seen UFOs all over and beings, but until they're provoked, everything has a right to protect themselves.
Right.
Like Dr. Jonathan Reed's instance, he feels it was negative. He was in Washington. This thing killed his dog. That's a negative experience. Now, if he brought his dog with him, would it have been a negative situation? It's
felt threatened by the dog.
Yeah.
I think of Daryl Sims. Like, I kind of understand where he's coming from. His child, who had he said that it wrecked him. Like, it literally wrecked him for life. And so that right there, I could see how somebody would, have that. I mean, the one thing is an adult, but when you start coming for the kids, that's when I'm like, cross the line. You're crossing the line. So I think that we have to keep a more open mind about that. And there's people in the community, and they'll be like, ET's all good, ET's. And I said, no, you're not going to get me to say that, have I had a negative experience with them? Not that I remember. Not saying, either way, but I have heard testimonies from multiple, hundreds of people that have had negative experiences, and we can't overlook that.
Yeah. Well, apparently a lot of people think there's like, the two different types of grays. You have your Zeta Reticulan grays, and then you have your genetically or your engineered grays. Then you have the reptilians and the Nordics and the tall whites, and there's all different types. And like you're saying, how do you know you're not catching one of them on a bad day? His girlfriend broke up with them, or something, and it turns malevolent. But you don't know what you're dealing with in that situation. If you wake up in the middle of the night and there's a gray standing at the end of your bed, are you getting the good one? Are you getting the bad one? What is your first reaction? You're going to reach out and shake its hand, or you're going to grab your baseball bat or your gun and the night table and shoot at it? It's like, what do you do in that situation?
See, now I've never experienced them like in the here and now, like Paul Maybell 777 Abel in chat. Now he has talked about like them playing Paul the ball and kind of like getting that manipulation kind of, a lot of those screen memories coming in too. So it's, you just wonder, okay, is that a manipulative tactic? Is that, I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, you just have to wonder. And then Daryl Sims would say that's the point of least resistance. They're trying to get you to come without forcing you, so you'll think. And then I don't know if you've ever seen The Good Place. Have either of you seen that TV show?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's where I'm going now. Because I'm not convinced that's not what's going on some of the time here.
Something like The Good Place. It does feel like it. Yeah.
Yeah. And the extent they win, it really does from time to time. I said, but then even worse, and my audience has heard me say this, but I'll throw it on both of you. What if, after all of this, we go to this like big crossing over the, whatever you want to call it, into the other, we've died. Okay. But we wake up and then all of a sudden it says, congratulations, you've just completed your simulation on planet Earth. And you're really like, back in a normal time, maybe, whatever time years later. And that's what you find out. Like, then I'm going to be mad.
Yeah, I've had moments where it's felt like living life's the Truman Show. Like I'm not steering, I'm not driving. And I'll say something to somebody like, if you're one of the actors here and this is like the Truman Show, you can let me know. I won't say nothing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be our secret.
Oh my gosh, yes. I mean, like if you'll just I won't tell anybody. Now, God knows that I would.
Hey, Rodney, if you're part of it, just wink.
Right. If this is really you and you're one of those characters, like, not really here, like, give me a nod or something. Yeah, do something. Tip your hat. I don't know. Because it really is bizarre. But they're probably programmed they probably don't even know the difference for all we know. But yeah. Well, this has been an amazing show, Chad. And I would love to, like, get some of your guys to have pictures and different things and your experiences. And too, Rodney, you've had like a ton of, we should have like a show and tell from that area. Cause I know he's got a ton of great evidence too. And we could do another show, right, Rodney?
Yeah. You never know what we get going on together, huh?
Yeah. I feel it's so, it's like no time's passed at all. So Rodney put up with me for a very long time. He's
nice.
Definitely he's got to have nerves of steel, really. So I commend you for that, Rodney. No, it's great to see you back up here on stage and stuff. So, but in closing, I would just like to say, I always give everybody the opportunity to leave the audience. But before we do that, please tell everybody where they can find you, Chad, and then Rodney too. I'm going to get your link. I think I put your link for your support group on Facebook, but I'll grab that really quick. Unless somebody in chat can grab for the Star group. Because you've got I look into the group and you have a fantastic group going, and you're really, the way you're interacting with everybody, it's just amazing to watch. So you're doing big things.
Yeah, it's growing at a nice pace, not too fast. It's not public, it's private now. A lot of people feel more comfortable now that it's private.
Oh,
And
cool.
there's
Yeah, bet.
so many experiences that from it's so diverse, and some of them it's a great place, and we're all learning together, and it's a lot of support. That place, they don't know how much I need them. It's really helped me out a lot. Just they have no idea how much they've helped me.
No, that's really cool. I'm glad to see that because, yeah, it's definitely needed. Definitely needed. Yeah, you're doing great. I mean, that's up. I mean, especially for being a private group, and that should be a private group in my opinion. That's a good. Glad that you did that. I'm putting it into chat now, so if you're on Facebook, definitely go over to Rodney's group and check it out. And we tell them the acronym for that because I somehow
it's STAR, the acronym STAR, S period, T period, A period, R period. Make sure you put that in there. It'll bring it right to the top. That's a YouTube channel I use also, but it's a great no judgment zone. There's no drama in there. There's no politics. I made a little post a little bit about politics and just hoping and thanking everybody for not, spreading the hate, because that's not what it's about. We're here for support.
Yeah, it's definitely a good. I'm on that too. It's definitely.
Should not even be in the political arena. This topic should not go anywhere near it, in my opinion.
So where's all the links where people can find you, Chad? Do you post on a few apps or?
I can share them on the post that she did on Facebook. I do have my own website that I made. It's I don't know the exact. The address is pretty long because I made it on Wix, so I'll have to share it. But it's Uncharted History. If you Google Uncharted History and then my name, Chad Granoski, it'll come up. I'll share the link. Facebook, you can find me, my name. I'll also post the YouTube video links on the post that she had there's a 3-hour video that's uploaded on there. And then
Chad, is that your YouTube channel?
One of them is, there's my YouTube channel. Yeah,
give us the name of yours and I can go, and then everybody can go over and follow you.
I have to look it up.
Oh, you have to look it up. Oh, that's okay.
It's but yeah, if you I can post all that if you want.
Yeah, and then I can go back in. So if you guys want to check back, I'll go ahead and I'll get those added into the description too as well. But Rodney's is s.t.a.r, right? Rodney for yours.
Support for those abducted and returned. I'm sorry, I got distracted. Yep.
No, I was looking up your YouTube. I was gonna go and I was gonna post that before we closed, so everybody can.
Yep, that's also it helps easy to find. It's all STAR.
Is there anything behind it, or is it just STAR?
It's just S period, T period, A period, R period. And afterwards might be support for those abducted and returned.
Okay, I knew there was something. Okay.
Yeah, I think if I'm on the right one, it's at Chad Ski 2018. That's the one that I have a bunch of the stuff uploaded on.
Okay, great.
But I can post the links also on your site that you, or the link on Facebook.
Yeah, no, and I can grab it here. If you guys want to just go ahead and let the audience know what you'd like to leave them with, and I can see if I can get these links pulled up for you really quickly. My mouse is a bit tough.
Yeah, if you check out my website, my UFO story is also on there, and there's a link to the MUFON report, so it has all the documents on it. There's a treasure hunting part of it, and then there's the cryptid portion of it. If you go to the cryptid portion, I did some writing about different cryptid creatures and stuff, but my story is one of the ones that are on there.
Awesome. I found Rodney's, and Rodney, yours was the name of it, but it's under Big Chief Thunderlung. And then, yeah. And then Chad, could you spell your last name for me? And I can pull that up real quick.
I think I'm looking at the ad. It says at Chad and then SKI and then 2018.
Oh, okay. Well, I bet I can find it here real quick then. No problem.
It's got like a gray alien as the picture.
Oh yeah, I see you, and I'm gonna subscribe. So you have, and then I'm gonna pull this so we can get.
There's not much on there. There's just a couple videos, but I'm gonna start uploading some more.
Well, maybe. Oh, hi, Andrew. Maybe you can. This will be a start to something new. But that way, everybody. So if you get over there, you go ahead and. I encourage everybody to follow one another, and that way, to put more stuff than you got, people out there that know where it is and looking for it. So definitely. And then in closing, like I said, I'll start with Rodney. Rodney, what would you like to leave the audience with tonight?
Well, just stay positive and try to, don't let anybody gaslight you. You find your beliefs. It's hard. We can just say we don't know. We can speculate, but what we've experienced forms our beliefs, and they're not too different from other people's. And keep looking for that support.
It's out there. And Chad, you?
I just want to thank you guys for having me on, and the people that were chatting, asking questions and posting. And I would just say, too many people I know and too many people I see, everybody walks with their heads in their phones or, to the ground, they won't make eye contact. But instead of that, just look up once in a while. If you stop and you look up once in a while, my neighbors are all make fun of me because of the UFO. They still do. But the first time they saw Starlink, the first person they called was me, because they thought they were getting invaded. They were all outside having a party. And, if you stop and look up once in a while, some of the stuff you see might not scare you, or you might see something that intrigues you. So, instead of putting your head in your phone, take a look outside every once in a while.
Yes. Connect with Mother Earth. So again, Chad, we'll definitely plan something, and, you and Rodney, we can come back and kind of explore some of those areas in there. I'd love to have Brian. We should have Brian on too. Oh, sorry. We should have Brian on as well. That'd be great to kind of ask some of those questions too. But yeah. Thanks again so much for coming on, and it was really nice to meet you and hear your story. And I appreciate all you do.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, and then it's just me and you, Rodney. Back to
We'll get Chad on the map and get this connected to the Phoenix Light somehow. I'm working on it.
Hell yeah. Well, if you need any help, I'm all game for that. Because there's a lot of, I'm trying to think, who Carl Supp, he'd be a good one. He witnessed the Phoenix Lights, and he's a Bigfoot guy. Like, he might be able to help with that. Who tried to take credit for that, the Phoenix Lights? Dr. Greer.
Did he?
Yeah, he did.
How did he try to take credit for it? Like,
he said that he was doing some of,
He's doing them?
Like
Chris
He did it. Yeah, no, he did not. But he tried to take credit for it.
You see, I think it's dangerous when I was thinking about that CE5 app and how Chris Bledsoe puts it out publicly. He can invite these things. That just by using those apps, you can be targeted. I'm not trying to scare anybody.
You can be. No, that's so true. But Chris works for the government. I always try and tell people, Chris, as much as he works for the government. So if you're using that app and it's got location, it knows where you are, and they can just make a UFO, a reverse engineered man-made one, appear for you and make you think it is. And we're so far into the holographics. If you look at China, look at Japan, we just don't see it. But it doesn't mean it's not there, or we might not just know what we're seeing yet. A little bit more, on the discrete level. But you look at some of go to Japan and you see like these big, and they look so real. You'd have a hard time with the hologram. I think we're at that point. I definitely think we're at that point. We definitely have the blue beam technology for it. So
that's why they're releasing it now, because we've never been closer. What was it, 2022 that we had the first congressional hearing, and that's when it was right after COVID. And every time we had a congressional hearing or somebody else did something, more chaos broke up to keep us further from disclosure.
Oh, yeah. And then when you look at it, it's like, well, if you go, I guess this is my understanding, Senate has far more like capabilities than what Congress does. Congress doesn't, most, if not all, like they do not have the necessary security clearance to even know about anything that has been identified that is off-worldly.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I understand some technology doesn't want to be leaked to our adversaries, but how about the technology that can help humanity? They got to get rid of greed. We got to stop letting greed run the world.
Then the letting go of that means letting go of control, and they're not willing to do that.
No, so it might not happen.
Well, hopefully you can find, not everybody. I really feel like it's us against that 3%. It's going to take somebody to stay alive with enough funding to stay alive and, release some of that technology. But you look at even, like, you remember Jesse Marcel III, he's got patents for, like, and they all do for future technology. Like they know flying cars, and we grew up hearing about flying cars, and it's like they are, but still it's like that there's a part of everybody I think that's still shielded. Like I know there's flying cars that are coming. I know that cars are going to drive themselves, and here they are driving themselves, and it's hard to wrap your mind around some of it sometimes.
It is.
Definitely.
Well, your show, you've done a lot since I was last here with you. You got new music, new backgrounds.
Yeah, we just did a little redecorating around here is all. No, yeah, no, it's definitely, I've been trying, and it's like we started off, you have to build. It's something that definitely builds, but yeah, you're so much at the heart of this. I hope you know that. You always will be. So this is always a place for you here. You know that.
Yeah, I took a short break, but I'm going to start getting myself involved a little bit more, Coley. I'm going to make time.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to hear that. Even if you pick a day, and if you, whatever, be more like, we got some cool things like Kurt W75. He's going to do Fridays, and we're doing like squatching Fridays. And then Maya, she's going to work the chat on Mondays. So we're doing like mystical Mondays. I'm on Wednesday, Sunday. I mean, look at it, maybe even a day show. So will you think about it? Think about what would work and definitely let me know.
Yeah, I will. Well, thank you.
Yeah. So in closure, I'd like to say thank you to everybody in chat. As always, you guys are amazing. You're at the heart of it, and you allow us to do what we're doing. And I really wanted to go through Bigfoot, Michigan. Rob's birthday was yesterday. If you did not get a chance, he's got a birthday week coming.
Happy birthday.
Definitely say, yeah, he's super cool. Shelly Montgomery, thank you so much for the super chat. Bigfoot, Michigan. Rob BMR, thank you so much for that. Ben from Oz, thank you. Shelly, thank you again. We really appreciate it. Walter, really appreciate the super sticker. And Kurt W75, thank you for the super sticker. It really means a lot. So we appreciate it. And on behalf of SNX Radio, Coley and Rodney, we'd like to thank you for taking the journey into the unknown. And be good to one another. Check out Rodney. Definitely get over on Facebook and check out his group and join it. I highly recommend it. But until then.
Unraveling the mystery, secrets in the night. We travel through the cosmos, ready for the flight. Together we'll shine, casting shadows aside in the heart of the rhythm where our dreams collide.
Join the Subnation X quest. The truth is our guide in the vast expanse. It's where we reside. Hands up to the sky, let the bass ignite. Feel the grooves around us. Everything's alright.
From the Subnation X quest, the truth is our guide in the vast expanse. It's where we reside. Hands up to the sky, let the bass ignite. Feel the grooves around us. Everything's alright. SNX Radio, let the truth ignite. Together we'll shine, bringing shadows to light. In this cosmic dance, we're connecting the dots.
Tune into the frequency. Let's explore the spots. Heavy bass drops with tight beats.
Illuminate the shadows, the echo of our call.
On this roller ring will never fall.
Feel the energy rising, can you sense the spark? As we dive deeper into the cosmic arc.
Stories of the universe, mysteries unfold. In the heart of SNX, where the truth is gold. Every note we play, every line we write, crafting our legacy, shining ever bright.
SNX Radio, let the truth ignite. Together we'll shine, bringing shadows to light. In this cosmic dance, we're connecting the dots.
Tune into the frequency, let's explore the spots. Here in the spotlight, we're taking our turn. With the fire in our hearts, let the passion burn. SNX Radio's call, ringing through the air. Together we rise, together we dare.
So join us now, let the rhythm flow. With SNX